Grimgor Ironhide, the best and enthusiastic screamer. Today we're going to take Grimgor and the boys and absolutely ravage the old world. But not just any old world, this is going to be a modded campaign with the old world mod. This turns the Immortal Empires map into an 809 settlement old world only map. As per usual, this will be on very hard with a little bit of a stat boost. And while I am playing as the best himself, I am going to be trying to confederate all the other Greenskins factions to bring them all together in one big war assault. We do start off with one major issue though, that Grimgor starts in Albion for some reason in this mod, which is a little weird. So I am going to use the change starting settlement mod as well to put myself in a more appropriate position. And as we glide over the land, you can see the grand scale of this mod. It's pretty huge. I decided to put myself in the lore accurate position for Grimgor in Karak Ungor. Although I'm not going to take that as my starting settlement because then it'll get rid of the lord in there who I need to take out so that I can confederate him and take all his lands. So we're going to start next to Karak Ungor and take that straight away. Now Grimgor has decided that in this army he doesn't want any ranged. We're going pure melee because as we all know, bows are a coward's weapon. So we begin our conquest by declaring war on the Red Eye and going after Karak Ungor. It's a city though, so I'm going to try and get them to come out of it, which I managed to do over the turn. And we've got our first Zoggin fight. It's going to be a little green on green action. Grimgor's ready, the boys are ready. It's a straight up smash fest from the start, of course. A bit of Total War Pharaoh going on here because I cannot tell which troops are mine. Grimgor's chopping down Gobbos though, the big boss is belly flopping onto Gobbos, and we're hitting that hammer and anvil with the boars, probably on our own troops, who knows, who cares, we're Greenskins. As long as we kill somebody, we're happy. Eventually Grimgor chopped down their lord and that was pretty much the end of it. And with that we get the Confederation, and that's 6 settlements by turn 3, very nice. Now I decided I want to control more of the mountains before pushing out towards Kislev and the Empire, which runs me into some Skaven. So I start taking their settlements off them, eventually running into one big fight that is apparently going to be a decisive defeat, so I have to prove them otherwise. And while there is a lot of rats on the field, it's mostly melee, which is of course our forte. So we'll move up and smash them from the front, but there is some dangerous ranged units they have, so we're sending some stuff around the flanks to get those, including Snotling Infantry. That's right, Snotling Infantry. But Zerk, they're not a thing. Well, neither are Orc Spearmen, but there they are. That's because I'm using the expanded rosters Orc and Goblin packs, giving me a whole bunch of new units to play with. Now I do what I can with my one unit of boys getting into their warp fire throwers, who will be very dangerous to our infantry if we're not careful. There is like 3 or 4 of them and I'm having to chase them with infantry, which isn't terribly effective, but as long as we stop them from firing, we're good. I'm also able to rout about half of their army straight off the map, so that makes life a lot easier for us as well. And while they put up a good fight, the Skaven were done for. So I cleaned out the rat infestation up here and took this province for myself. But as we're moving things along, Ungrim declares war on us. Karak Kadrin coming after us, which is incredibly lore appropriate as well. Let's see if winter saves them. As I prepare to move out though, the Silver Pinnacle vampires have come out of their settlement, which I was trying to take just now, but there was too many of them goddamn there. So I decided I'll just leave that for when I get a war. But now they very kindly come out of their settlement and are allowing us to take them down. Because it's mostly zombies and stuff, we should be okay without their garrison's help. Let's do it. Zombies and skeletons, no match for the Orc boys, of course, in terms of straight-up melee power, especially with the help of our single unit of boys. I do hold back their small nearby reinforcing army with the Snotlings, but it's their larger reinforcing army that is the worry, but it's so goddamn far away that I'm able to absolutely destroy their first army before the second one even arrives, and then we're able to rest and wait for them. There's a Vargolf here, but nothing a Black Orc big boss can't handle. More hammer and anvil, and then that's the end of the Vampiros. This allows us to then take Silver Pinnacle, complete this province, and we're pretty much secure from the north for now. I'm going to start heading down south to get after Karak Kadrin. And silly bollocks Ungrim is going to rue the day that he declared war on us, because we've just got a war, and you know Ungrim is going to be our target. We're going to go for Nashrak's lair, as it's right there, but oh... Ungrim doing the cheeky on us, bringing the fight to us first, attacking Karak Raziak. Well, I have no one there to defend it, so I just take the L and tell myself I need to defend myself better, which is something that you might want to do for your computer with the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. A VPN, of course, keeping your connection safe out on the interwebs, and with Surfshark you can get that protection on every device you own, pretty much, even your microwave probably. It'll protect you from all the nasty hackerman attacks out there, and all the big business trying to spy on what you look at so they can target you with ads. There's also a bunch of other handy little uses, like being able to trick Netflix into thinking you're somewhere else in the world so that it shows you all the shows from that version of Netflix. The same thing with YouTube as well. If there's a video you can't see in your country, well, just pretend to be in a country that can see it and it's yours. You also get Surfshark alerts, which can tell you if your email address has been compromised anywhere, Surfshark antivirus, which is self-explanatory, an incredibly private search engine, and the ability to create an alternative ID, which will basically give you a fake identity so you can truly surf the web anonymously. Say hello to Jimmy Elnora Exton from Australia, you f***ing wallabies. So what the hell are you waiting for? What the hell are you waiting for? Protect yourself with Surfshark VPN. You can even get a sweet deal right now using my name as your promo code to get up to an additional 6 months free. There's a link below in the description. There is a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, so if you don't like it or you find you don't really use it, you can get a full refund. Thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Now, unfortunately for Ungrim, I'd been building a second dwarf-killing army with lots of nasty skulkers for all the armor piercing, so we engaged with that army, and lucky for us, our reinforcing armies were coming in from behind them, while their reinforcing army was all the way over the other side of the map. So we hit them small and pointy with the nasty skulkers from the front, and then of course hit them from the rear as much as possible with our reinforcing armies. This allowed us to break their leadership quick time before their second army was even anywhere near us. Then they went full total classic war AI and just charged forward into us, straight into the back of each other, making them very easy to envelop, and that was all she wrote. After this, I sent my second army to go and finish off what was left of Karak Kudrin armies, and then sent Grimgor on to start taking the fight to them. And of course, Grimgor's war kept growing over the turn, so we've got pretty much 2 full stacks as we arrive at Nashrak's lair, and we're going to take the auto-resolve here at the expense of our snotlings, but who cares? They're snotlings. We then tear our way down this valley, taking any settlement we come across along the way, eventually marching ourselves into Ungrim himself. His army, though half full of artillery, isn't that worrying. He wisely retreats back to Karak Kudrin, where we shall besiege him. But Ungrim isn't one to cower in his castle, so he's come out to fight us, and we've got a big old fight on our hands. We're gonna take it. Of course, the priority here was making sure the artillery didn't damage us too much, so we had to get all over that as quickly as possible. Our 1 unit of boyz, a key player in this situation. I really need to get some more goddamn cav. We kept the artillery handled pretty well, and then just had to grind down what was left of the dwarfs. We had some black orcs with their armor piercing, the immortals themselves, good for that cause. And that's pretty much the gist of this one. The lighting's pretty horrible, so let's move on. With that, we had their army defeated, we attacked them, auto-resolved it on the next turn, and boom, Karak Kudrin was ours. No winter saving you today, Ungrim. With this, we now had a pretty tasty-sized kingdom, and we're about ready to take it to the Empire lands. We just needed some ultra-green, super-mean, killing machine armies. So I outfitted Grimgor with a Black Orc-only army, and that's with 3 different kinds of Black Orcs, thanks to the expanded roster, a dual weapon version, and a shielded version, alongside the usual great weapon version, of course. I also recruited Oklok the Horrible, who gives buffs to Borkav, so guess what? His army is entirely Borkav. And I also had Ratnik Spiderclaw with a Gobbo army, although he'd be joining Grimgor's forces a little bit later. Now, the other thing I wanted to do was confederate all the greenskins I could, whether they were the legendary lord factions or smaller sub-factions, and it turns out a couple of factions in the region will actually confederate with me right damn now. The Ironskins just below me, and the Black Pit tribe over to the west of us, so I take both of those confederations right damn now, and taking the Black Pit tribe does give us contact with Grom, but he's not quite ready to confederate with us yet. We'll see if we can convince him. I start trying to secure my north and south borders of my main little mountain territory here so that I can mostly focus on pushing west. And push west we do down into the southern oblast, into this little random Kislev sub-faction, who are of course going to catch a smacking, and we're going to start sacking a lot of these places as well to get that money rolling in, because we got quite a bit of minus income at the moment, and then we're going to take the settlement after to keep growing our kingdom. And that's pretty much the story of the Southern Oblast and this sub-faction that we're dealing with. They simply don't have the manpower to stop us. I've got Ratnik down in the south area, trying to secure that, taking out the Skaven factions around so that we can get kind of a more secure province and just get a kind of more secure edge to our kingdom. And that's what we're going to do by taking this province. I'm going to leave Ratnik around here defending for now because there are still a few rattos to deal with. But for the most part, we've got this area locked down. Around this time, I also managed to get a non-aggression with Grom so we could build a relationship with him. Karl Franz came along and we had to bribe him to fuck right off for now while we deal with Kislev. and some nearby dwarf faction came after us and did indeed declare war on us, so we had some fights on our hands. The Kislev faction weren't taking it lying down, they came and attacked some of the settlements. Those dwarves came along and attacked some of my settlements as well, took one in the plains and then one in the mountains. So we had to come back and clean that up, reclaim the settlements we lost. Progress was slow, but our next war was a-coming. So now, everybody's dead! Now, in order to confederate all the Greenskins factions, I have to find all the Greenskins factions. So I've got loads of heroes sent out in roughly the directions. I know roughly where Azag is. I know roughly where Wurzag is. I looked at the start positions before the campaign. Azag is somewhere up in Kislev and Wurzag down in the Badlands as usual. And I've just come across this little random Greenskins faction in the Badlands. No chance of confederating them just yet, though. My main mountain kingdom is a bit threatened by the dwarves taking this settlement off me and sitting there with a big army, so I've got to defend for that. But we're going to punish their insolence by making them our war target. One of their capital settlements, it's gonna be ours. Eventually, after scanning all over Kislev trying to find Azag, he stumbles into view, and it turns out he's not looking so good. He's got an army left, but only one settlement, and it's being besieged by Kislev, and there's a lot of Kislev armies around. He's pretty much doomed. We gotta try and save him. We got a non-aggression with him, but he doesn't want confederation for some reason, even though he's about to die. But we're going to try to save the bastard. Because even if he doesn't offer us much of a kingdom, we do get Azag as a legendary lord himself, who will be very powerful. As for Wurzag, no luck so far. All I found is elves. Blech. Now, as we've got the war building up, I'm going to separate Grimgor and Oglok. Grimgor is going to start taking down those dwarves, while Oglok declares war on Kislev in an attempt to get their attention and to bring their armies down towards me, away from maybe Azag, potentially maybe helping save him. Again, going to be sacking and then occupying these settlements to maximize that monies. Over the turn though, I think Azag's army got wiped out and his settlement is about to go too, so I try the last resort possible, getting confederation with him, but he doesn't want it, so I threaten the bastard and say, look, confederate with me, or I'm going to kill you more dead than those Kislevites will. And he actually accepted it, much to my surprise. So sweet, we got Azag at least. He doesn't have a kingdom, he doesn't have armies, but we got Azag. I do check with Grom every now and again as well to see if he wants to become my sexy bitch, my BBG, Big Beautiful Goblin. But no, not yet. All the while, Oglok is heading towards Kislev itself, looking to take that off them. That'll be a big hit for them if they lose their main starting settlement. But as we're besieging it, oh scheisse, they come at us with 2 full stacks. Luckily, we've got 2 full stacks with the war ourselves, so we've got some gits to crump. Oglok's boar army is quite the spectacle to behold as it stampedes over the land. We meet the Kislev army in a valley while setting up a big flank on them, hitting them hard from the front with all the boars running downhill as well, so a little extra power from that. And then we bring in the humongous boar boy, big in charge, downhill, putting tusks straight into their asses so far that it comes out of their mouths like little ivory tongues. Naturally, after this kind of violation and a war, this little Kislev army that got surrounded by boars didn't last long. The second one is just arriving, my second army is here as well. The boars finishing up that first army start charging towards the second, and as you can imagine, a lot of crumping ensues. With the help from that second army, a lot of infantry in there, some missile units. The enemy does have an elemental bear that we need to take down with the big uns, but Kislev's attempt to save its home city has failed at the hands of Oglok the Horrible. With that, we're able to sack the settlement for a cool 41 grand, and then we're of course going to take it afterwards. And well, Kislev is green now. Speaking of making cities green, Grimgor is about to take that dwarf city, and we're well on our way to making them extinct. I'm also making another army in the mountains to go and try and take back the settlement I lost to these dwarves, putting some giants in this army for the lols, and this is going to be Azag's army eventually as well when he's available. He's currently wounded. Still no sign of Wurzag. I think I have to assume the worst, that he's probably been killed off. Azag though is alive and well and has joined his new army, besieging the dwarves that took that settlement off us. And after a few turns we go ahead and take that settlement and reclaim it as our own, pushing these damn dirty dwarves out of our mountains. Oglok's still been pushing through Kislev, attacked by a Katerin army here, but I fight this battle, smash her to bits, carry on taking her settlements. And although I'm going from settlement to settlement to settlement with my armies, I feel like I'm not really getting anywhere because I have vastly underestimated the size of this mod. It's really cool how big it is in all honesty and how much more detailed it is and probably more lore accurate, I'm gonna guess. But my vision of making all of this land green is probably a bit ambitious for one video. We'll see how we go. Kislev have just sacked one of our settlements, but we got a couple of their armies set up to take him down. Grimgor is now pushing in towards that last dwarf settlement, although it's a little bit protected with a little help from Kislev. But I see an opportunity here with these two Kislev armies both sat together. Orc is going to go after them with his double stacking against their double stacking. And unfortunately for them, their armies are mostly missile units. Well, half of mine is just boars, so you can imagine how this goes. I set up all my boars on the left and right flanks of the enemy, but of course, they're corner camping the edge of the map, so I can't really get behind them that well. But we hit their edges pretty hard all the same and bring in the infantry from the front. Eventually we push through on the flanks and get after all their missiles. They can't really fire or use any of their ammo, so it's a GG. So that's two Kislev armies defeated. We chase them down, finish them off, and they are out of our way for good. And with the taking of a few more settlements in this region, we now get a more clear-cut front line. That one dwarf settlement left to take care of. We're going to try and beat Kislev back to the river, so they're just in that northern oblast region. We got Festus still alive around here. The Empire is pretty big. I also do my obligatory every few turns Grom check, and what do you know? He's now actually willing to confederate with us. He's been beaten down a little bit by Bretonia. He's obviously seen us crumping all the Kislev gits, and he realized that Grimgor is the best, and he wants to be part of that. So he's one of us now. But Grom himself was injured at first, but we're building him an army up now. But time is of the essence, as Karak Ziflin has just declared war on us, who are next to Grom's little area. And they do start to push on us with an army, but we got pretty good garrisons in these two nearby settlements. And we've got a little random Gobbo army that I've inherited from Grom. We're going to put that in ambush. Maybe we can catch them. Kislev still bringing the fight to us, attacking some of the settlements we've taken. We're not defending them terribly well, to be honest, but they are only sacking them most of the time, not really taking them back. I, however, am sacking and taking their settlements off them. We got some pretty big ones here. I'm going to take the auto-resolve in this one, but this is up to the river, so it's going to start to divide their kingdom a little bit on this side of the river. Azag's army has now arrived down from the mountains to help out. He's going to start taking some settlements. And Grimgor did manage to get after the final settlement of those dwarves as well, wiping them out of existence. We're on the last few turns of our war now, though, so our armies are going to get weaker. We continue our assault on the Kislev armies, the Kislev region. Eventually, Katerin asks for peace, and we say, hails to the no. Over on the Grom side, one of the Karak Ziflin armies comes for us. We don't get the ambush, unfortunately, but their army has a lot of missiles, so as long as we can control that, we shall control the battle. I've got some pump wagons and spider cav, which I send in to kind of disrupt the missiles, to push them around, to move them a little bit, while I wait for the reinforcing army. We end up kind of herding them like sheep all into a ball in the middle, which makes them very easy to surround and to break their leadership. So we took them down without taking too much damage ourselves, which is pretty lucky because another army follows up on the same turn and attacks us with the help of the one we've just beat up. So we got another fight on our hands. The starting army is their beaten up army, so we run through that real quick, and then we got to prepare for this stronger, fresh army coming in. They do have a bunch of artillery, which is a bit of a worry, because if we can't do anything about that, we're going to take a lot of damage from that. And also in the late game, they may be able to break our leadership much easier with the artillery fire. Plus, they've got all the missiles that we need to try and disrupt as well. But we're getting stuck into the melee, grinding them down, which is, of course, their forte. But luckily, we got a fair bit of damage output to try and overcome their defenses. I do have a unit or two to get into their backline to try and disrupt their missiles, but not really enough. I really have to push through their infantry to get to these Iron Drakes, to get to the Thunderers at the back. And slowly but surely, we're able to wear them down. We're able to stop them from using too much of their ammo. And shout out to this dwarf that got kicked to the floor and then instantly sicked on. That is not a warrior's death, that is a drunken Irishman's death, I'm afraid. But for now, we've managed to save ourselves from the Ziflin attack in Grom's territory. Oglok is using his last turn of the war to take this one last settlement, Cholka, along the river. And I'm building another army full of rogue idols and Arachnarok spiders, so that'll be nice. The old world slowly turning a beautiful shade of green. We got the last few Kislev settlements on this side of the river to take care of, and then just these few over here, and we'll have them penned in over the other side of the river. But Katerin, now feeling brave as our war has ended and Grimgor's army is just a bunch of Black Orcs, she comes to take us on while we chill out at Volksgrad. Now I finally get to use Grimgor's Black Orc army. The boys were ready for some heavy smashing. The Crimson Killers are on the field. I've got the Shield Black Orcs as my front line. I've got 3 dual weapon versions with upgrades to give them bonus versus large, so they are my anti-large. And then I've got the great weapons on the flanks, flanking around and enveloping from both sides. That's the plan anyway. Grimgor and the big boss get stuck in alongside the Crimson Killers. They're all having a great time, but Kislev does have some advantages. They've got the magic, they've got the cavalry and mobility advantage, they've got the ranged advantage, but we've got the whole plodding forward, we're too hard to die, you know what's coming but you can't stop it vibes going on. One of the reasons Greenskins are my favourite faction. As much as I love strategy and tactics, I do love just charging forward with just pure aggression and mindlessness, overwhelming the enemy with pure raw power. The Kislevites do get some good damage in with all their ranged power because it does take us a while to get after them with our slow speed, but we do push them on the flank, start to disrupt those missiles, stop them from firing, and it's just a slow and steady death for Kislev. They put up a valiant fight, but they couldn't get through our armor, we're just too tough a boys. Katerin was getting stuck in there giving it her all, but eventually Grimgor tracked her down and chopped her down from her bear, and with the end of her came the end of her army, and another Kislev stack taken care of. And with them out the way, we were now clear to attack another key Kislev settlement in Prague. We made a tasty 20 grand off sacking that, and we're going to take it afterwards, of course. And while I'm surveying my kingdom, I noticed that I've got another war available, but mine only just ended, and the bar isn't full, so I'm not really sure why I have a war, but you know what they say, don't look a gift war in the mouth, so I'll take it. I guess maybe one of the mods broke it, or maybe there's a mechanic I've forgotten about. Bad luck for Kislev, I guess. Now I gave up on searching for Wurzag, assuming he was dead, and I headed for 8 Peaks instead for the Crooked Moon, looking for that confederation, but they're definitely not interested in it at the moment. Back on the Grom side of things, I've been building his army up even more in preparation to attack Karak Ziflin. So we're taking the fight to them, trying to expand Grom's territory over this side. Another nice feature of this old world mod is that some of these rivers actually do really matter and stop people from crossing them. Like here, there's no way for me to get across without going all the way around over here. You see, it's a long old distance I've got to travel to cross the river. And I've got this kind of protection up north here along the Kislev border. I pushed them out of here, so I've got that protection up north, and I've got it down south, protecting from these dirty, smelly elves as well. Although, as the Greenskins, I can actually underway under it, but any faction that can't do that kind of thing is pretty stuck. I brought Ratnik Spiderclaw up here as well, as he was a bit bored down south. Nothing was really happening. We had a bit of a row with some vampires, but he's come up here to help finish off Kislev on our side of the river. Grom and his Gobbo boys are taking it to Karak Ziflin still, and Oglok the Horrible is still being horrible. Azag finally makes the push to the last settlement on our side of the river as well in the north, so we've got ourselves secure over this side of the river. We push them back into the northern Oblast region. They've got problems with the Skaven over there as well. Kislev occasionally sent an army to come and attack or sack one of our settlements, but it was no huge deal. I finished off taking out the settlements that they had on our side of the river, so they were completely gone then, and I also had Grimgor push into their side of the river, take a settlement or two, and then gift them to other factions, so that Kislev would have to trespass on either the Demons of Chaos or Skaven territory to get to mine. And as it turned out, this has actually been pretty lore accurate for Grimgor. We took on Karak Kudrin, we've taken out some Skaven, we've taken Kislev on. I decided I'll leave this campaign here for now. Maybe I'll do another episode if people like it enough. But this Old World mod is absolutely huge, much bigger than I anticipated. This is my first campaign in it. I highly recommend it if you want a different experience from the usual Immortal Empires. I'll put a link to this mod and all the mods I've used here in the description. But yeah, overall it's really nice to experience the Old World in a different way. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the patrons who support this channel. If you want more of this stuff, I got it right here. Thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and I will see you in the future.